There are certainly a lot of ways to turn necks, and quite a few of them are still available on the market. But I thought for fun, I would show you. I picked up a Nielsen pumpkin, and these are still kind of considered one of the gold standard ways of turning necks, even though they don't make them anymore. I think they've been retired for a number of years. Stiller was making them or making a clone or some version of for a while. They did them in some other colors. To my knowledge, only the orange ones are actual Nielsen pumpkins. And I think the other one was a slightly different design, but same concept. It is very simple in its design, although as a non-machinist, non-engineer type person, I've actually struggled a little bit with it compared to my 21st century. You know, the way John sets up the 21st century, I hate to say it, but any idiot can turn a neck beautifully. I guess I fall under the any idiot category for this particular part. There's things I excel at, things I don't. This would definitely fall in the category of things I don't. There are hash mark indicators on here. So on the body, on the main body here, there's a line. You can kind of see it there. And then on the top part, there are hash marks all across. And there is supposed to be a way that you can lock this down, then loosen this set screw, turn it 1/1000ths at a time, and then lock it down. And that's supposed to adjust the depth here on the internal mandrel. Now, I don't know why I struggled so much. I just couldn't get those hash marks to work there. So what I ended up doing is seating it a little deep, and then I loosened this, and then I would use a feeler gauge, and I would move it out a certain amount each time, so it would lift it up, although not quite that dramatic. And then I would tighten that screw down, and then I remove this, and it goes into the drill press at that point for me to test out. So I know that there is an actual way to do a far more precise measurement there. I just couldn't get it to work, so that's just me. Anyway, doing this wasn't that big of a deal. I moved it out a little bit at a time till I got the depth I wanted. Now, setting the cutting head, again, a good set of feeler gauges, and you're going to put that right between the mandrel and the blade, tighten it down, and then you're set. Now, usually, as was recommended to me by an experienced user of these, you're going to want to use a feeler gauge that is about 0.5 off, because when you tighten this, it'll actually push that cutting head towards the mandrel just a little bit. So you've got to leave it just a little bit of play for when you tighten it up. I will say, though, once you get this set up and putting it onto a drill press, you know, the beauty of it is that it's perfectly balanced. I mean, the thing just spins like a top. I know that people use the K&Ms. I don't know that I've seen the 21st century adapted to a mill or a press, but I'm sure it's been done. But anyway, this thing it spins like a dream. So let's get that chucked up here. Now, it does have a flat spot, so in a three-jaw chuck, I do try to get it between two jaws. And, you know, I have to admit, this is not the most accurate, amazing drill press. It does, however, do a really good job, especially considering it was $30 on Craigslist with the bench vise. So for $30 and having some fun and testing it out, I figured, well, what the heck? So you can see when this thing spins, I mean, it just hums right along. And this is just a modified, it's not even really modified, it's just a 21st century shell holder with the hex shank on it, chucked up in my bench vise that's been aligned. It takes about 2 rotations to cinch it down, and when I'm doing this, I can just leave the drill press on and just move back and forth. You know, I try to minimize my hand motion because I tend to hurt quite a bit after reloading, so I thought this would be a great way to try to do that. So let's see what happens here. So you get a couple rotations, that's locked down, and then we're going to just give it a nice, and that's it. Now, normally I would lube it a little bit, actually a little bit of white lithium like this, or some other lubricant. What was recommended to me is to take like a little bottle, not a bottle cap, but like plastic bottle cap, and spray some of that in there and then just dip the necks in. I've tried that. It works amazingly well. Now you can see here that it does a really great job on one pass. Normally I would kind of move it up and down a couple times. The cutting blade itself has a 35-degree shoulder for the 284. There's a number of inserts you can still buy from PMA Tooling, and you can also buy new mandrels for it too. So it's nice to see that somebody's still at least supporting the expendable part of this. The one thing I will say though is that because the cutting head has a much shorter bevel on it, so if you're looking at the cutting head, the bevel that comes down on the shoulder is really long on the 21st Century. So it gives a really nice transition from cut to no cut with the 21st Century. I have to admit, it's pretty sexy. This one, it's a much shorter, it's really, if my whole hand is the 21st Century, the pumpkin is, like maybe 1.5 fingers worth of bevel. So it does cut in a little further. You cannot come down as far onto the shoulder as you would with like a 21st Century. When I use my 21st Century, I probably come down almost half the neck because that's how I like doing it. Maybe 3/8 or so of the neck. This one, you definitely have to come up a little shallower, and it's not the end of the world. But speed-wise, this thing is remarkably fast. I know there's guys who use this with a modified, Eric Cortina is one of them. He modified this a little bit so that it is basically like a quarter turn tightening. So it goes very fast with a handle. He can do, I think it's like 500 in an hour, which is just insane. And the run out on these is great. I've tested it. It is, right in there, less than a thousandths run out 99% of the time, which is right in line with a lot of the other neck turners that I've used that are of higher quality, like the 21st Century, and there's a couple others that can do that too with some relative ease. So just something I thought would be fun to show you guys, even though it's pretty tough to get your hands on one. I don't know if I'll keep it or not. I'm actually going to be going to a no-turn neck chamber here to play with for the next year or so. But, I really like the way it works. I really think it's practical, and I think it's a shame that nobody is making this kind of neck turner again. But I do understand it takes a lot of space. You need to have a machine that'll spin it. I have seen photos, although I can't find any videos, of Don Nielsen using his pumpkin on an actual, kind of looks like a Gerard unit, a small handheld unit. I don't know what he is using in that case as a shell holder to prevent spinning as it's being neck turned, but that's something I might play with, and if I get that to work, I'll make a video of that too.